Center, and joining us now on the Element Wealth set here in the studios is Senator Nicole Akins-Boyd. She's a senator that represents District 9 that includes Lafayette and Panola counties. She serves as the vice chair of the Senate Universities and Colleges Committee. Senator, good to see you.
Good to see you. Glad to have you in Oxford.
Absolutely. Beautiful day up here. Looks like we got great attendance for the banking symposium. And honestly, I was just saying in the last segment, I can't think of a more relevant time to be discussing this particular subject matter, what's going on in banking and finance and just the overall economy. I was just talking this morning earlier about three big major banks. I think 4 actually released their earnings this morning. And one of the things that caught the attention of investors is that they're plowing more money back into loan loss reserves, which, of course, is a period expense. And that's because they anticipate perhaps more loan losses and defaults.
Well, I'm in a small community bank.
Okay.
It is definitely something that I'm in the loan committee.
Yeah.
And so it is definitely something that we are all paying close attention to, and we always pay very close attention to the loans we do. But I will say this, it is something that we take even more precaution with right now.
Well, I was going to ask you, are you being more careful in the loan committee?
Well, and we're pretty careful anyway.
Okay.
So, but, I mean, you analyze it that much
Sure.
more thoroughly, and you really look at the nitty gritty in this. But in a small community bank, you have to be careful about the loans you do, and but it gives you an opportunity really to know your community, and so you really have an innate sense of people that are getting your loans and what they're getting the loans for, and how successful those will probably be in those areas.
Interesting. I'm glad to know that. So while we're here at the banking symposium, what about just the flow of activity?
We're seeing less people. Really reach out to look, and really less people doing this, and so and that can be good and bad. And maybe it's people that are being more careful, being more observant, and I think that's good. So we haven't seen the quality of the loans decrease right now. We're seeing people that really have strong business plans and strong things. So I think maybe the good thing is it's making us all pay really close attention and really make sure before we step out that we have smart business plans in place.
Sure.
So so that's what I kind of see from the local level.
I got you, and I'm assuming then the underwriters are probably being a little more careful and maybe a little more thoughtful in their analysis of underlying assets to collateralize and perfect those loans as well.
Yes, so looking at that collateralization is a huge portion of really making sure those are good, solid collateral pieces, and so it's made all of us, really just pay closer attention. But I will say, I think actually the quality of loans actually might be a little even better.
Okay.
So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, that's a bit of a bright spot, I think, overall across the country. I'm not sure if that's the same experience in the banking industry.
I'm not sure, but our small community banks here, we have so many here in Mississippi, and we do have a little bit different situation because this is the people that we live with every day, in our communities.
Yeah, it's critical.
It is critical, and so we really have the opportunity to, in our service area of those banks, to really know what's going on and really know the needs of the community. So.
Yeah. Absolutely. So from a legislative perspective, Senator, serving on the board of a bank, like being on the loan committee in particular like that, what do we need to do legislatively, if anything, to help and support this industry?
Well, right now, I think we've got right now we have the laws in place that we are really being able to do a good job. And what we don't need to see is like massive changes and really come in. It's one of those things where it's an opportunity for us to really, I think we've got what we need in place.
Yeah.
And we just need to let these banks grow and flourish right now.
Well, and you know as well as I do, serving on the loan committee in particular and being involved with the bank, it's faith, confidence, and certainty is what they need. And when they don't have that, you tend to kind of hunker down and you're less willing to take any risk because you just don't know what's on the horizon. Well,
in the state level, I think leave it alone. I'm a little concerned what I see coming from the feds. It's a lot of overregulation.
Yeah.
And we're kind of we're watching what's going on in Congress very, very closely, because we want to make sure, and with this administration, because we see where there could be a lot of overregulation. I'm really concerned, and we all are paying very close attention to what happens in the federal level.
And we've got some radicals in Congress that would even like to see nationalization of the banks, frankly.
Absolutely. And I can't tell you what a critical mistake that would be for the state of Mississippi.
The country.
And for the country, yes. But, I mean, particularly our small communities. Yeah. And so, you know, what works in Seattle is very different than what works here. And so we've got to really oppose this nationalization effort that is kind of being promoted by some people.
I agree. All right, so we got, a legislative session coming up here pretty soon. What's on the horizon there? What do you see?
I think we're going to be super busy again.
I do too.
I think we're really looking at it. I'm really working on a lot of the stuff that has to do with the post-Dobbs case, working in that committee, really looking to see how that we can promote maternal infant welfare and just the general health of mothers and children. And then also looking, one of the things we have hearings coming up in 2 weeks that we're really going to be talking about a lot is how we make sure that the workforce, we are promoting women in the workforce, but what we're really need to look at is childcare issues. It's a problem for everybody, no matter what your socioeconomic level is. And we want to make sure that we are really kind of examining, is there a role for the state in that? What is that role, if there is a role? And then also making sure that women are having the opportunity. There's a number of programs that are already being done. Some of them are not being taken advantage of, and we want to know why.
Yeah.
And so what can we do to increase the number of women that are participating in that? Because we know women are working in the workforce. Our single mothers, their labor force participation rate is at 75%. And, you know, the general state's only...
Yeah, that's high. That's much higher.
It's much higher. They're in lower wage jobs. And so we want to know how can we use some of these things that are already, you know, being expended to make sure that we are helping them get in higher wage jobs. And but you talk to all of my industry in this area, particularly in Panola County. And when I go into an industry, the number one thing that they say that is an issue for them is child care for the workers.
Yeah.
And so
can't work if they can't figure out a way to take care of their children during the day.
Yeah, and so these women are working. One of my plants, the GE plant over there, they had the largest group of women in the percentage of workers is women in the country. So he said, you know, we need y'all to look at these child care issues because this really is affecting us economically when the mothers have to, you know, stay home, or if they can't get the, you know, that extra child care. And so they said, we need y'all to look at that. If we're going to grow the state's economy, that's got to be a piece of it.
Yeah. Anything else you see that might take the center stage in the upcoming session? I know I receive lots of texts from listeners and members of our audience that would like to see the state address this ballot initiative process again, the citizen-initiated ballot measure process.
I'm a big proponent of that. I feel like citizens need the opportunity to be able to petition and get things on the ballot. So I'm very hopeful that that will come back up this session and that we'll get that passed. I think citizens deserve the right to be able to do that. I'm going to continue really pushing and making sure that we've got some sunshine in our state meetings. I want to see, you know, if you have a statewide meeting, I mean, if you have a board or a commission from the state, they ought to be able to put that on the, you need to.
I agree.
I mean, it needs to be public.
We got too dang many to start with, it seems like.
I'm going to completely agree with you on that. I would love to see some eventual reform.
Too many.
Oh, it's ridiculous. And I would love to see some reform in that down the road. And I think it would help the public to agree with us if they could actually see the meetings.
I totally agree.
But, you know, being up here in Oxford, we're 2.5 hours away from Jackson.
Yeah.
And it should not require my people up here to have to.
That's a good point.
Go to Jackson to go see a board or commission.
Yeah.
So we're going to be pushing that hard again to get some
well, and as you know, a lot of the members of those boards and commissions are making decisions about their potential competitors, which is an issue as well.
Oh, absolutely. And I think the more transparency, the more light, I think we will change those things.
Good.
But let's keep these meetings open so that people can see them from everywhere.
Good to hear your position on that, Senator. Appreciate that, and let's get that done in the next session. Let's work on that.
We passed it in the Senate, so we're hoping our House counterparts will take it up.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Senator Nicole Akins-Boyd represents Lafayette and Panola counties, has been our guest here, excuse me, on middays. We're at the Ole Miss Banking Symposium, the Ole Miss School of Business Banking Symposium. We're coming right back in the Element Wealth Studios from the Oxford Conference Center.